How do you stay true to yourself? What sparked it was I was listening to a Terry Cruz and Mike Tyson interview, and there was one quote that stood out when it says,
You go, whoa, whoa, what was that?
Listen, if you're a friend of everybody, you're enemy to yourself.
Yes.
I was like, wow,
That's deep.
right? Right? And then a second layer to that, you go ahead, I'll just break that down. But there was a second layer of a quote that made me even think deeper.
I think it was in the 11th grade. I was going, like most people going through high school, I was going through an identity crisis. I wrote this
An identity
paper.
crisis?
Yeah. I wrote this paper. No, the assignment was to write a paper about someone else. I think it was in the class. And I wrote about this one person in the class that like always seemed to be doing the coolest shit. Wakeboarding, skiing. Like I was like, his life seems so cool. There was this one person that wrote one about me. And so like everyone in the class reads it in front of everybody else, but you don't say the person's name. And as she was reading it, I remember listening to it and I'm like, this is about me. It was to the point that after she read it, I went outside the classroom and started crying. And what she was talking about was this person that wakes up every morning, looks at himself in the mirror and selects which mask he wants to wear that day, and how he goes throughout every day, every week, just changing throughout the masks, but never leaves the house without one. Just to provide some context, my life back then, I was like an athletic jock, right? I played sports, whether it was wrestling, volleyball, football, soccer, whatever. I was smart, so I was in all the accelerate classes. So I was doing all that stuff. I was in DECA, which was like a business fraternity. So there was a lot of different faces going on. And I would feel like I had to blend in all the time, but it was hard to know exactly who I was rather than those identities. Years later, I remember, obviously it still sticks with me. And I have reached out to her and to ask her if she actually has that paper, but she remembers writing it. And I remember that it was read, but she never was able to recover that essay. I've used that a lot as a reminder of trying to find the balance of when I'm in a mode of putting on masks versus walking out without one. And I think go ahead.
No, that was I had a very similar high school experience. Not in reading it, but it was living it. I kind of lost myself. So you can finish yours, I'll go on mine, and that's how I led to the fraternity and DSP.
Just closing my story, that's the anchor point that I've always had in my head. And there's times that I still get lost. It's not something that has kind of been one and done.
Yeah, I don't know. We both came from the East Bay, and in that environment, you just had to put your different hats on, and then it just became your identity to have different types of identities.
Do you think it's done through survival?
It can be, because you're just trying to disguise yourself so you don't get detected, in a sense, to be ousted. How I was thinking about also thinking about it, if you're always different, you kind of get keyed in on. Like, really want to go into like Salem witch trials, or when we're doing the Cold War, you just, if you were different in some shape or form, like you just had to assimilate to an extent with you had to assimilate with the majority before getting called out for being different.
It's because a lot of the times you're safer with the pack.
Correct. It's easier just to go with the pack.
Well, reflecting on your story, how do you stay true to yourself?
Oh, it was I had homies in high. I never had a lot of friends growing up. And if it was a neighborhood, if they were in different grades, it was like I was solo in my own age. And I went to a different school, so anyone in the same age, they went to public. I went to a Catholic private school.
I didn't know you went to a private Catholic school.
Yeah, I went to a private Catholic school until like 5th grade. But when I went to middle school, I didn't have friends. I didn't know I was socially awkward. I didn't know how to make new friends. And by the 8th grade, so I'm gonna go a tangent. Until 8th grade, so I was like floating around. I was just the person I was the lurker of a friend, just would hang out with a group that would accept me to an extent and just let me hang out for a small bit, but I never knew how to dig deep to create a friendship until 8th grade. met homies that were in the positive light with really good grades. They played basketball. They were just really close knit. And I was like, yeah, this is dope. And they welcomed me into their friend group. And when I got into high school, I joined football. Was working with them all the time. And I just kind of drank the Kool-Aid of Mr. Cool Guy trying to be cool. And at a certain point, until fast forwarding to my senior year, I'm gonna cut her name out, but I overheard her saying something to my middle school friends, was that, yeah, they talk shit about him all the time. So I felt bad for Justin. So a mutual friend said something to my middle school friends who told me about all this, and they just said, Dad, they just shit talk you all the time. And I'm like, damn, I'm out here trying to fit in with this group that didn't even want me from jump, but I diverted away from my true homies who was there for me. But why? Why the hell did I do that? And as soon as our connection weren't strong, as soon as college hit, we drifted, which sucked. And when I went to college, I was like, I just got to be unapologetically myself. And if people are gonna stick with it like glue, then they're gonna stick with it like glue. If not, fuck them all. So yeah.
Do you have any close connections from high school still?
No, I used to have one, but that even after last year kind of fell off. So yeah, none. The only people I have right now is college friends.
I wonder what the split is of individuals that could keep in touch with high school friends, what the drivers of that was versus college friends versus no friends.
Oh, my brother's friend group, they've been together since freshman year of high school.
Do you think that they
They've
were
been,
always true to themselves rather than trying to be a chameleon amongst groups?
yeah. They were the goofiest people for themselves and were always there, regardless.
So they had 4 solid years to actually build a relationship rather than kind of floating in and out between 1 year here, 1 year there,
Teen
1 year
groups
there.
and yeah, no. They would go dig deep. They would talk about deep shit. They would share life experiences. There was when they went to college, others are people doing different things. They came back every time they came when college break happened. So yeah, it was something I envied when I was in high school, because I thought I'll get it, and I was trying to sought for it. But nah, I got that in college. It was hard, dude. It was mentally hard. That's when I had like really low self-esteem. So being like true to myself and staying true, like being is the person you are, and someone will find value for who you are, was something that I got from that lesson.
It's hard to do because it requires you to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on what the past experience is, the last thing you want to do is be vulnerable.
Vulnerable. It's funny. I used that type of thing when I started dating, like in 2021 when I heavily started dating.
Mm-hmm.
Was that same type of approach, not trying to be like, oh, I'm trying to be this really, really nice guy, or really trying to just perception of things. I'm going to be unapologetically myself. And if it sticks, it sticks. And it doesn't, it doesn't. And I know who I can actually gravitate towards. So yeah. And I used that, and it lasted 1 date, lasted 2, and it fell off. And next thing I know, I found someone that gravitated towards me, and I gravitated towards her. And 2 years in, man. So it was that was a philosophy that I kind of not forgotten, but didn't apply. Not something I've forgotten, but did not apply into another aspect of my life until that time.
I think when it comes to dating, maybe similar to friends, is if you're kind of focused on doing you, which is being your truest self, friends or significant others, they'll fall into place along that aspect of things rather than trying to turn the ship to meet the expectations of that friend or of that relationship, which then, I mean, we've seen that. We definitely can name a number of our own friends where when they're single, totally different person than when they're with somebody else. And then when they're with that other person, they're not who we know who they are. Or even worse, there's definitely been times where I've hung out with some friends, I've said some stuff, and they immediately shut me down. That person does not know that side of their life. And I'm like, bruh,
Why
like
not?
that is you.
But not. Like, why?
Oh my goodness.
Okay. So I know we talked about that first layer. So the second layer that got me going was this. It was talking about it, the perception of said as a man, so I was gonna say as the quote is, it could be a person or anybody else, but be a good man, not a nice guy.
That was like the second part of the quote that from that interview.
No, different quote from a different interview, and that kind of struck the same chord of thinking about that. So what does that mean too? Was be a good guy, but not a nice guy.
Sometimes being good doesn't require you to be nice.
Yeah. And that kind of settled into the unapologetic, like, fuck all. If you're not with me, then I don't want you in here. I'm not being nice about it.
There was something my dad used to say that kind of was a reflection point of being a parent. You can only do what you believe is the right thing. Whether it's right, wrong, perfect, or ideal is a totally different thing. As long as you truly believe you're doing what you should be doing, that's all you could ever expect from someone.
Shit, man. Those two quotes got me bugging, so just wanted to share.
Well, for the record, you're not a nice guy, so.
No, I'm an asshole, dude. I don't know what my girlfriend sees in me sometimes, man. I'm just a blunt person that makes me an asshole.
It's because you're a good guy.
Hey, man, I care very deeply.
I didn't say you didn't.
But I just say some blunt things.
And that's the overlap of where you're not necessarily having to be nice. You're just trying to be good by being honest.
Ah.
It's deep.
Yeah.